Hello, my name's Dave Tegeler and I live up here in Seattle area, and I wanted to share with you a modification I made to the Carl's Golf Simulator to fit this room. Many of you may have a dormer type room or a coffered ceiling with this rather complicated shape, and I wanted to show you how I maximized the screen and built the simulator to accommodate this shape. This is a diagram of the shape that we were trying to use for our screen. The dashed line indicated I'd only have a 7 3/4 foot height to the screen, but it would be 12.75 feet wide. I eventually decided to make it 12 feet wide by 8 feet high, and this is how it would fit at the end of the room. I decided to place the screen up against the windows with about only a 10-inch spacing between the screen and the window wall. I believed I could get away with this based on using a foam topper from a mattress to reduce the deflection of the Carl screen. Well, final setup. I got some of the strand board in for the area near the screen. I'm going to assemble all these pieces and put the final layer of strand board on. This total hitting area is 12 feet wide to match the screen and 11 feet deep when I'm done. And it has a kick up right at the end that's about 4 inches high. Okay, I've completed the stringer and mid supports. They're on a 2-foot square, which produces a very solid floor when you use 1/2-inch strand board. And the carpet underneath obviously is going to grip the stringers, and this thing just isn't going to move on you. The surface ramps up to 5 inches high, and that will allow the ball to kick back to the player. Okay, I got the floor laid. I'm ready to put down the rubber mat and the turf grass over it. I bought some PVC and some connectors to mock up how I'm going to have to change Carl's front frame to provide the clearance for the projector to shine on the screen. So fully assembled, this is what the front piece will look like. It rises the canopy of the front black surround by 2 feet. I'm planning to fit the projector in there at roughly a foot down from the ceiling, but this allows me to utilize the ceiling to shoot, or for the projector to be properly installed. Well, my first step in setting up the Carl's frame has to be the top, because it matches exactly the width of my ceiling. It is a trapped design, so I have to pre-assemble it on the ground. I will show you that each of the splicing tubes has a preset stop for the tube, and unfortunately, in the trap design that I have, the lower bar will not be able to be put together without drilling out these stops and letting this tube slide over one of the branches and then pulling it back to center. I'll show you that in a little bit, but it's the only way I could figure out how to assemble the thing. Okay, I've installed the vertical tubes. Notice how I've had to install this foot pointing outward. You'll see why I improperly installed it in a few minutes, and I had to do that on both sides because of my space limitations. Okay, I've got my frame up there, and it's absolutely net to the ceiling, and I need to take these feet now and turn them around so they support the bottom frame and the surround shield. Note, the area of my grass raises up about 5 inches. It's just below that nut on the angle frame supplied by Carl's, and I was able to secure it there. I have some latitude back and forth, and I haven't decided how that's going to work. There's an overhang, as you can see, of the 2x4 that's supporting all this, that will allow me to get my foam in there as well. But it gives you an idea of what I'm doing. I found some curved EMT that I will use to change the shape of the front EMT tubes to allow for projector clearance. You'll see this later in another diagram. Okay, so here's the front upper bar structure. I've purchased some pre-bent EMT 1-inch tube, and I've cut it off at roughly 22 degrees to form this angle. And so it's providing the straight length into the Carl's tubes, fastening tubes. That's one end, and this is another. Note, I'm going to have to cut off the Carl's tube about 6.5 inches so that I get a nice straight sections on these preformed tubes. The overall height I'm going to get is about 22 inches, and I'm going to have to do that for both sides. My overall length is 67 and 3/4 for the basic Carl tube if it was straight, but because I'm adding these pieces in, I have to shorten the Carl's tube. When I get these pieces cut, I'm going to take them to a welder and have them weld them on so that they'll fit into the splicing tube, all preformed. As I mentioned, I've got some curved conduit I cut into 22-degree angle pieces to produce a 2-foot riser in the middle of the center frame. It cost me $60 to have the pieces welded on after they were pre-cut, but that's pretty cheap. Craig's really ought to consider offering something like this for people with coffered ceilings. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. A modified front frame for the Carl's surround system. And it honestly only cost me $60 to have those pieces made. Obviously the other parts cost another $50, but that's nothing. Now, to put behind my Carl screen, I ordered a California King 1.5-inch thick memory foam topper, and watch the recoil I get just with this thing. It's 1.5 inches thick, and it's on a hardwood floor. Want to see that again? And I'm throwing this thing pretty hard. It bounces maybe 3 or 4 inches. This is the mattress topper I got. Well, I've hung the mattress topper a little biased to the right because most people slice, and I've blocked out the upper eyebrow window with a carton from the hitting mat from Carl's, so I thought that was a clever use of resources. I've used 2 1x2s, or actually they're 5/4 by 2s, to hold on to this mattress topper, and I've screwed through the mattress topper every 6 inches with some cap screws. So I don't think this thing's going anywhere. My simulator room is upstairs inside this dormer, and my painted Carl's cardboard is a pretty good match to the blinds that were already there in the square windows. So I don't think I'm going to get in trouble with the wife on the color match on that thing. This paper clip turned into a magic tool. When you install one of these Carl's frames over a carpet and have a tight space behind, you have to mount the screen first, but the only way to get to the bottom channel, if it's resting on the carpet and you're trapped at the top for your ceiling height and can't raise the frame, is I had to use this paper clip to fish the bungee cord underneath the frame and push it through the carpet. But anyway, it's a helpful safety tip if you're looking for doing it the way I did. My screen is now fully installed and I've got every bungee location filled. So we'll see how good it is. I threw a ball at it and there doesn't seem to be too much of a recoil. Okay, so this is the surround from the Carl's frame system. And what I've done to accommodate my modified front frame is I've cut the thing in two, but I've done it at the exact middle of the panel, which saves all the detail work by their top frame on either side. And I've folded it to the shiny side in. You can't fold this material with the Velcro side touching each other. It's a nightmare. But anyway, I folded it in, and then I bought some 2-inch Velcro or hook and loop, and I've reinforced the part that I cut here. You'll see this all installed, but I felt I needed to reinforce the single sheet material to put a grommet through it. And here, I brought one of these cheap little grommet kits for about 10 bucks. Okay, so I got my first row of grommets in. I know they're not black, but the whole area is going to be covered up with a cover cloth that covers up the bungees that'll be tensioning this part. You'll see it when it's installed. As you can see, we now pre-installed the Velcro outside of the grommets, and this 2-inch Velcro will attach a cosmetic and impact cover over the bungee area right in the middle. I'm getting ready to install the projector, but I needed to support it from the bottom, so I extended the ceiling mount down to pick up the projector, so I don't have to hold it there with one hand while I'm screwing in the attachment screws. Well, I got the projector mounted, and it's well above the screen level where the factory recommended level is. You can see what happened when I raised the center of the enclosure. I got my bungees pulling both sides tight, and as you can see, they line up pretty well. I'm going to put a cover over it with a padded protection for the bungees, so it should look pretty good when I'm all done. Well, I'm getting there. As you can see, I've added some black extension curtains. They're another 5 feet beyond the Carl's enclosure. I've covered up the bungee cords with a centerpiece that protects the bungee should a ball hit up there. And then I've added another longer black screen extension on this side of the room. And let me tell you the rationale for that. we had a light gray and white wall there, and the Skytrak looks at that wall and can't differentiate it from the golf ball very well, so I was getting a lot of missed shots. The other thing the helpful reviews give you is you need to really light the golf ball. Put it on the spot there with the name lit, and you really need to light it very brightly to get it to repeatedly pick up your shot. Right now, this setup in this room gets me about, I would say, 5 out of 6, or maybe even better than that. As part of the skill is placing the ball, but it's a very important element to get in there. I haven't completely got all the padding I need to level my workspace out, or hitting space out. I'm still working on that, but I'm getting close. As I mentioned, my room is 14.5 feet wide, and I have a 12-foot screen in it, but I also have seating on a couch and a chair with a lamp and room for my golf bag on either side, yet I maxed out the height at 8 feet. You can see I'm using the Skytrak not mounted on its feet, but mounted on a carriage I bought for 60 bucks on Amazon that allows me to adjust the fore and aft position of the Skytrak so I don't wear out my hitting mat in one spot. I saw that idea somewhere else on one of the videos somebody did, and I thought it was a great idea. And not that expensive to have that thing move around, but keep it aligned in the same direction. Well, here it is. The completed result. And I'm really excited about this. I have room for my clubs on one side of the room, and room for my equipment when I get it on this side of the room. I'm currently running the simulation off my iPhone, and I'm pretty satisfied with the screen. The screen is 12 feet wide by 8 feet high, and I'm going to be buying a PC with an NVIDIA card in it that will allow me to adjust the screen image to fill the whole screen. Right now, it doesn't do that. And I want the grass from my mat all the way to the screen so that the bottom of the screen is right at the end of my simulated grass here. It gives kind of an infinity pool effect. I raised the turf on a gradual slope 5 inches to cover up the black boundary on the Carl's screen. This is a Carl's premium screen. Image isn't too bad for the Optima projector that they supplied. And again, the finished treatment of my my increased height of the front bar kind of looks like this, with some black fabric covering up the bungee area that I showed you earlier in the video. Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I can't stress enough what a great result I'm getting with this raised first bar of the Carl's enclosure. It really does remove any claustrophobia from hitting in the simulator, and something that, if you have a coffered ceiling or a dormered ceiling like I did, something you really ought to try and incorporate. As for me, the golfer, many years ago I was about a 7 handicap, and I could hit a 6 iron about 165 yards. Not great, but okay. Lately, the frustration I had with golf is I was only hitting at about 132 or 3 133 yards. And the first few shots I hit on this simulator was the same result. And by watching the videos on YouTube of swing keys to improve your technique and that sort of thing, and then coming into the simulator and practicing them, I've got my 6-iron back up to around 154 yards. And it's 45 years later too. So if I can get that close playing golf, the pleasure I get from it will be probably worth it all. It certainly is going to seem like it to me, and I hope it is for you if you really get in and build a simulator yourselves. Anyway, thanks for watching.